Hey traders, checking into the stock market today. Bulls with a notable start to the morning. Some profit taking into the end of the day, but at least some short-term alleviation of fear. We'll see what we need to break daily lower high downtrends, which is the most important factor for me over the next couple of days. All right, so we had a higher open with the futures chart over the holiday, seeing some upside. We can see SPY gapped up today, and the bulls held those gains. And we had a setup pre-market that we were heading into, where we were consolidating into the open, and the question was, do we lose the hourly uptrend into the open? Do we form a head and shoulders into the open, or can bulls keep their control? And they fairly quickly kept that control, and we just saw a lot of morning follow through for those bulls, and individual names like Tesla and NIO going double-digit percentage. The biotech sector has been on fire the last couple of days. So at this point, I'm viewing what has happened since the FOMC last week. So FOMC daily bounce reaction topped out that Wednesday. Bear flag confirmed Thursday. No bear follow through Friday. And now a bounce, which is showing me bear exhaustion in the short term. So what I'm watching is the most important factor for the next couple of days with our shortened week here is the daily lower high. Because if I'm a bear, I can rationalize and say nothing changes if we don't get over the high of the FOMC reaction, because it's just a daily lower high and the daily downtrend just remains intact. So if we look at SPY, keeping in mind a lot of these ETFs have dividends the last few days, so make sure you're using the adjusted levels because it does matter. But if SPY does not break 382.25, which as of closing is still 2% away, then nothing changes. So keeping an eye on that, one possible setup, if we reject from that resistance, on the futures chart, I'm watching the 12-hour time frame, and I'm watching for the potential of an inverse head and shoulders, where we don't have to break that resistance on the initial attempt, but we must hold the low and then follow through with the 12-hour trend change. So that's one possible scenario I'm keeping an eye out for, and definitely open to the possibility that bears show up tomorrow. But we would need to break the lows of today tomorrow for a convincing bear day. And the NASDAQ's very, very similar here. So again, going to the futures chart, we've got the daily resistance on QQQ. That level is 286.28, which we are 2% or so below. And we look at the NASDAQ futures 12-hour time frame, same deal. If we reject from resistance, which is certainly in play, but if we reject, we scout the higher low, and then it's up to the bulls to prove to us with the trend change. And Bitcoin's the same thing. I was playing the bounce on Bitcoin over the weekend, and I know I'm waiting for 12-hour consolidation on Bitcoin to be looking for a higher low, at least initially. And then that's whether or not the bulls can prove it to us with that inverse head and shoulders. So that's the setup where I'm finding the most clarity. I just don't know if that's what we're going to get. But if we're red tomorrow, then we'll be scouting that potential 12-hour higher low attempt. SMH is weaker than SPY and QQQ. Resistance of 220.44 is a good bit further away. And without the futures chart on SMH, if we were going to see something similar, fail to break 220, it'd be a 4-hour inverse head and shoulders. So fail 220, hold the low, confirm the trend change. And again, that's just one path for the bulls to prove bounce follow through. And of course, if we show up tomorrow with a solid red day, or if we show up tomorrow and all of our major sectors are dropping to the lows at the same time, anything like that, and we absolutely can continue a daily downtrend. So that is on the table as well. So I'm keeping an eye out. Little bit of a bear lean in the short term because these resistance levels are approaching, but I then will be keeping an eye out for 12-hour higher lows on these futures charts and on crypto. Tesla with a big green day today. So it's one of our names with a base of support now. NVDA is another one. So double bottom 620. XBI is another one with a base of support. Break of short-term resistance. So the weekly, you can view this as the low, high of the bounce, double bottom. And now it's all about 793. And that's 10% away. If we do not break 793, we remain range bound. Go to the 2-day time frame and smooth it out. And essentially, we could possibly do this until next week with only three trading days left this week. Google is a lead tech bull, but it's similar. So Google held a higher low, when many other tech names drop to lower lows. But if we do not break 2387, we just remain in a tightening range, which will then break end of June or first thing July. And another tightening name to be watching. Let's see, who else? Those are the two main ones I'm watching. The biotech sector is very similar. XBI, big bounce. We went to the high of today. We were up 11% in the last 2 days. Very notable rotation going on. Money leaving the energy sector, as we saw last week, and not today, but overall in the last week of trading, there's been a notable pullback in energy and bounce in the biotech sector and some other growth names as well. But again, if we do not break this high of 74.67, it's just a lower high and we can remain range bound. And as a day trader, if I have positions, I obviously want it to break one way or the other. But if I don't have positions, I want patterns to get as tight as possible, because those really tight patterns get better follow through on breaks and they give very clear levels to play off of. And we know that when the breaks take place, we see spikes in volume and volatility, which means spikes in trading opportunity. Whether it's day trading or short-term swing trading, tightening ranges breaking is a good thing. So I want ranges to tighten on up until next week at the least. So we'll see if we get that. On a name like XBI, I'm watching tomorrow potentially to be an aggressive bear. Depends where we open. If we open higher, maybe there's a top fish first thing. If we open lower, we then have space for the hourly lower high to be the result of the next bounce. I would be very surprised if we just V-shaped 20% to break 74.67 without tightening up a little bit further. But also watching the volume, because that volume has been notable for the bulls. Healthcare, lead bull sector today. We broke the high of the FOMC on Wednesday. That's notable. That's what we need to see for bulls to have confidence. We need to see that in as many sectors as possible, as many ETFs as possible. So healthcare has done it, but nobody else on this list has done it, aside from some individual names in the biotech sector. But I mean, our most important names, QQQ, SPY, XLF, IWM, nobody's done it but XLV. So XLF, we can see that resistance is 31.92. Same thing, if we don't break 31.92, bulls don't prove a thing. If we do break it, we're watching for the potential that a weekly bounce will be underway, and then we'll scout a weekly lower high on names that have a lot of space for that weekly lower high to form. IWM, same deal. High of FOMC bounce, 174.06 is a key level. If we break it straight from here, we've got space for a daily trend change attempt. If we reject, we don't have much space at this point. Other individual names have more space, like SPY. So watching daily lower highs closely, the most important resistance levels. We looked at the biotech sector. The hourly uptrends are our short-term guides. If we lose hourly uptrends, daily consolidation will be shaping up. Checking on the Chinese names, NIO is just really performing. Weekly, breaking momentum, trying to get back to 24, which is the highest level that we've seen in the last 7 months. Monthly bounce is very clearly underway. And you look at this drop and this bounce and you compare it to the biotech sector, it's pretty similar. We were much weaker back here on these bounce attempts. But in terms of when we topped out and how much we pulled back, not a huge amount of difference. So the biotech bulls are looking at NIO and saying, man, I hope we do the same thing and get a monthly bounce going into the mid 80s. Still proving to be done. BABA continues to tighten up. On the weekly, it's where I care about it more. So low, high, higher low, double top, and still very close to resistance. Trying to shape up a cup and handle like pattern. Let's go to the 3-day time frame maybe. So yeah, this would be, I like, cup and handles are continuation patterns, because far too often someone will look at a downtrend and be, oh, this is the left side of the cup, or this is the left side of the cup. You can choose the left side of the cup to be 15 different places. But for me, this is very crystal clear as far as the resistance and the inability to break the resistance, and now a little bull flag attempt. If this were going to break bull, again, Chinese markets have been bouncing more significantly than the US markets for the last couple months, building a base of support. But if we get a weekly bounce going with follow through in the broader market, if we break the daily lower high, if we can eventually confirm a daily trend change, these Chinese names, I keep saying it, but they're positioned really well to break out of tightening patterns, building bases of supports, and shifting momentum. I mean, you look at this monthly time frame, which has been nothing but down for a couple of years, and it's trying to get the most significant monthly bounce going. If we clear that 124 level, that will be the most significant bounce that we've seen in a very long time. It remains to be seen what the broader market does, because if SPY drops to fresh fear lows, which wouldn't be that hard from where we stand, then we're going to look for a pullback right back into the middle of this range, and then that can prolong how long we tighten. Energy sector, daily bounce, nice little top fish with the high of Friday, where we rejected from it by a couple pennies, pulled back pretty notably. V-shaped bounce, impressive. So I'm looking for a daily lower high to be the result of this bounce. Oil is still holding on fine. Tons of space for the daily lower high. Hourly uptrend is my guide. Scouting that daily lower high. Oil is fine looking at the August futures contract, because look at the weekly EMA 12. Again, I talk about the character of a trend. Nothing changes. The bulls keep complete confidence if weekly EMA 12 continues to hold. And we're battling to hold it right now. If we lose it for the first time in a year plus, or first time of this year, I should say, that's very notable to me. So what I would like to see is daily inside bar bull break, energy sector some bounce follow through, and then confirm continuation of the downtrend and have the energy sector set that daily lower high. So I don't know if oil is going to align in the most likely, or I should say the most ideal scenario for an energy short, but I know I'm scouting an energy short. It's just a question of where is that daily lower high going to form, and I use the hourly uptrend as my guide for it. The dollar, 12-hour equilibrium, just a tightening range here. So if we don't break 105.08, we'll look for the lower high. Keeping an eye on this to see how it breaks. And the 10-year as well, we're watching, does the 10-year confirm a daily downtrend or stay in a daily uptrend? That's going to have significant implications, these two instruments, as far as helping determine our probability needle as to whether or not this broader stock market can see, a week of follow through. We have to see weakness in the dollar and the 10-year to be points in favor of the broader market bulls to be looking for some bounce. Powell speaks tomorrow in front of whatever. He's going to say some words. I don't think he's going to say much different than what he said a week ago. So I don't think there's going to be significant volatility. But if you're looking at the 5-minute charts, there could be some volatility tomorrow with that. So something to be aware of. Gold and silver still not doing anything. They're sideways. Nothing changes as long as we're within this range. So don't even need to look at them. Aside from that, that's as in-depth as my analysis is. Okay, tightening daily range, still going on. Nothing changing. Silver a little bit stronger. Failed to break resistance. Still sideways. Nothing changing. Natural gas, bear follow through from the daily bear flag to end last week. This weekly pullback on natural gas percentage-wise is the most significant of this entire bull move, which has us scouting a weekly lower high to be the most likely result of the next bounce. Daily came close to oversold, didn't quite get there. If we do get to daily oversold, I imagine some bulls will be looking to buy that dip, as they did last time. But a notable enough pullback where, I can't imagine we're going to see a new high on this move in natural gas anytime soon. I think a best case for the bulls would be, a tightening range that eventually breaks bull. But keeping an eye out for a bigger picture top. Look at natural gas going up 800% over the last 2 years. So I'm looking for a cycle top, 600%. But we're still in a weekly uptrend. So if I'm going to be confident in a cycle top, I need a confirmed weekly downtrend. All right, CCJ uranium, nice defensive support, tightening weekly pattern, $20 of support. We held it by 2.5% Friday into the bounce today. Anything under 28.28 is just a weekly lower high. I want bounce follow through. I then want to top out. I then want another higher low. I want this to get as tight as possible. I've got no position. This is just something I check in on and say, okay, Do I see a setup where I have high probability and high conviction? And a bull could have looked at that and said, I want to be aggressive and play off support, and it would have worked out. But I want to see it get as tight as possible to get me back interested in the sector for when the break takes place. But bulls still have proving to do to be confident a new weekly high or low is being set. So that's where we stand. Ton of weakness today in Meta. Weakness in Netflix. Clear lead bears to the downside. All about the 12-hour time frame on the futures chart. All about the high of FOMC Wednesday to see if bulls can convince us that a weekly bounce is shaping up. And then we'll just zoom out and scout a weekly lower high. But one time frame at a time. Can we break daily lower high resistances or not? Tomorrow's going to give us a significant amount of information to answer that question. Hope you had a good day. Do good things. Flowers are all coming in. Big pokeberry. Got some poppies. Clearing out the peas that have now finished, and I'll probably climb up these winter squash and let them go up. Potatoes starting to slowly die. They'll be ready to harvest in a few weeks. You can see this winter squash is already significantly running. Cucumber's still doing well. This bed of zinnias is just starting to flower. It's going to be real colorful soon. My sunflowers have been beat up by squirrels and turkeys, but some are making it. It's a hawk. Oh, the ducks are back. Down to 2. This hawk's stalking these ducks. There's 2 of them.